representatives are the only ones who speak. I have advised and asked my board members that if they have follow-up questions or anything that we're speaking on, that they send me a text message and I will ask the question. Just so we don't talk over each other or what have you. I want all questions to be answered and I want everybody to be clear, you know, about what's being asked and what the answer is. And I want this meeting to be productive. So.
Yeah. Well, look, we're glad to be here to help kind of clear the air. I will say this though up front, there may be a time when we're trying to answer a question that we may actually call on one of our directors,
Okay.
whether it be from Clinton Elementary, the Y, or maybe even DHR.
Okay.
And so it's not for them to ask any more questions.
Yeah.
It's just to help us explain. If I get, sometimes I like to chase rabbits and I'll get off course. And so Lori or Miss Rebecca may need to bring me back on task.
Okay. And can you introduce your YMCA board members just so we know? I'm assuming that everybody here is not.
Yes, not everybody here is a board member. If you are a YMCA board member, will you please stand right where you are, please? So you can see that, I think most everybody's familiar with everybody. We have Judge Speaks, we have Dr. Price, we have Mr. Parnell. We also have Miss Robin there from Peach Park. We have Miss Kendall, and then we have Brian Petty. And we may actually have some more board members that aren't in the room.
Okay.
And then myself being Jason. So,
yeah.
But look, we're excited about being here. Now, before we get started, one of the things I wanted to ask is how many board of education members have been to the facilities while the program was in session and seen how it works and got a tour of it? And
not had a tour, but I've been there.
So,
in progress.
So y'all been there while it's in progress. So you saw how the program worked. You saw how much staff it takes, the quality of the program, the supplies that are needed and all that. That's great. Okay, well, good. We were not aware that any of the board members had actually been there. So that's encouraging to us and we appreciate that y'all have been there. For the rest of you who hadn't been there, we would love for y'all to come visit if you feel like you need to. Even if you don't feel like you need to, we would love for you to still visit so that we can give everybody a tour and maybe show how the dynamics and the logistics of the program actually work at either location.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So we met last week and it was brought to our attention that there were several questions that the Board of Education would like to have answered. So we have since seen those questions, and I feel like we have answers for them, and so we're going to try to answer those to the best of our ability. And if we need to have some discussion on it, then let's do it.
Okay.
We are here to hopefully answer all these questions in a way that is positive and it is convincing of the program, and that everybody will want to move the program forward and make it even better than it is. And so we're excited about that. And actually, does anybody have an idea of who has the best program in the state when it comes to the Century 21 grant funds?
Well, I'm going to say Chilton County.
We do. By far, it's not even close. And we're very proud of that. And y'all should be very proud of that because you're part of it. We wouldn't be in that position if it wasn't for y'all. And so we're thankful for this relationship that we have. Okay. So if you want to, we'll just kind of dive right in. I think the first question is to provide a legal partnership agreement papers between the Clinton Elementary and the Chilton County YMCA that formed the CCCC. And so we have that documentation right here, okay? Now, also, question 2, 3, 4, and 5 that fall up under that, they're also asking for documents. And so I have some of those documents here. When we move on, and we'll get to those later, okay? So when we move on down to question number 6,
okay,
it says, why are family guidance funds for foster care students who participate in the program sent to the Chilton County YMCA and not to the CCC. Okay, so before we get started, do all the board members, the Board of Education members understand the funding of this program? Because initially I did not.
Of the family guidance?
No, of the entire operating budget.
Okay. No,
We-
feel free to explain.
There's 3 buckets. Well, I try to break it down into simple stuff, okay? And I'm a visual guy. So there's 3 buckets. There's the grant money, which comes in the form of the ES2 form that we have to submit every month. There's one bucket. That feeds into the operational budget. The second one is the parent fees / tuition. Those words are interchangeable. You can say tuition or you can say family fees. It means the same thing. Okay? It took me a time or two to get that. I was getting confused when somebody would say tuition and then they would say family fee or parent fee. Okay? The third bucket, and it's a much smaller bucket, when you compare it to the other 2 from the ES2 grant money and the parent fees. That is the family guidance bucket. And it's very small, but we do receive money from them and we appreciate that money. It's not a lot, but every little bit helps. Okay? So our ES2 bucket, that bucket generally, we typically get anywhere from 10 to 12,000 a month, maybe 15 on a good month. Okay? That ES2 document contains all of our expenditures. It contains our payroll, our salary, any expenditures, any receipts, and any invoices that we've had. Now, before we get paid a dime from the grant program, we have to submit, we have to upload that to the grant committee. And between the grant committee and the Alabama State Department of Education, they review that document and then they either approve it or they do not approve it. If they do not approve it, it's because we probably asked for something that is not allowable. We have had that happen before. I think we were making tree ornaments one time and we ordered some, or we went to Walmart and got some cinnamon like for cinnamon toast. They declined that. That should give you an idea of how they scrutinize this document that we send up. Now, when you and I talked on the phone, Angie, I told you wrong. I said that our program gets audited on an annual basis. I was referring to a financial audit because that's what I thought.
Right.
That's not right.
Okay.
Okay. We get audited.
When you say we, you're talking about the after-school program?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We are, is the school board and the CCC program. We are one big family. Okay. All right. So, because we're the governing body of that program.
The YMCA?
Yes.
Yes.
The Y board. Okay. So I was wrong. Remember I told you the SAFE Incorporated?
Yes.
Okay. What they do is they audit our program annually, but they audit they do an operational audit, not a financial audit. So I was wrong and I apologize for that. Okay. Financially, we have to go through a financial audit every single month. And that audit is done by the State Department of Education.
Okay.
All right, very good. So we talked a little bit about the ES2 form, and I probably could elaborate a lot more on that. When we upload that, it also includes the amount of money that we've received from the parent fund, the parent fee, and the tuition. That's also included over there, and it's uploaded up to the main department, okay? Now, the next thing is our parent fees / tuition, okay? They are not required for this program. We do not have to apply that fee, but it is highly encouraged that we do that from the grant committee and from the State Department of Education. That is not a terminology that we came up with. The YMCA board did not say, we're gonna sock on a parenting fee on this and we're gonna get us some more money. No, that was available and encouraged through the two entities that we go through each month.
And let me clarify on that. I don't think anybody on the Board of Education has a problem with a tuition. It's the fact that over and over, we've been told that it's a donation, which
Okay.
seems voluntary.
Yeah.
As opposed to tuition.
Yeah.
Because it's like you and I talked about the other night. You can't run this program without charging tuition. We get that.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
Yeah.
it's tuition, it's not a donation.
Okay.
Well,
and that's true to a degree. And I kind of hate to say this on live TV, but if a family does not pay that tuition, we just don't get the money.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's it.
Okay.
And we still see the kid. We're not going to turn the kid away.
Okay.
All right. And we'll talk about that a little bit more
Okay.
because but let me just go ahead and say, we are not a perfect program. I'm sure there are isolated incidences that we've had where maybe there was a miscommunication or there was a disagreement or whatever you want to call it. And we're aware of that. And we would love to know more about that so that we can address those so that hopefully they won't happen in the past. I don't think there's a lot of them.
Right.
But I could be wrong, but we don't know anything about them. We haven't seen anything presented to us in a formal document saying we were turned away, or we were wrong, or we were misinformed.
Okay.
Okay? But we're very open to trying to correct that or change that in the event that that has happened.
Okay.
Okay? All right, very good. All right, so let me get my sheet. The parent fee tuition is going to be two things. It's either going to be $70 or it's going to be $85. That's it. Okay? Now, if a kid is on scholarship, you get to fill out an application, a scholarship application. It's a sliding scale fee. When the program was created, they decided to adopt the current YMCA sliding scale. So we just use that same form. That way we didn't cost any more money to create anything extra to create a brand new form for that. So we just use that because we adopted it, okay? So of those scholarships, we probably have maybe 50 students that are on scholarship, which means they either pay reduced premium monthly fee or no fee. It just depends on how they come out in the sliding scale. I couldn't tell you how many only pay 25% or how many pay 50. I don't worry about that. That's not my job to know that. Maybe it is, but I don't think it is. I leave that up to the directors. Now, there's about 50 students or so, give or take, that don't pay any tuition whatsoever. It's not their fault. It's just the parents don't pay. Or they may pay that first month and then they don't pay again. And then 3 months later, they may pay another. It's okay. We just absorb that cost and keep rocking and rolling.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
So let me ask a question on the $70 and the $85 fee.
Mhm.
If they go to the YMCA, it's $85, correct?
If they stay till 6:30 or
If
later.
they stay, yeah.
It's
But is that whole $85 fee put toward the Chilton County Children's Club? Or does the additional $15 for getting to go to the Y go to the YMCA?
All right. So help me make sure I don't mislead. It all goes to the CCCC.
Okay.
All goes to that one pot. That one
That
pot.
second pathway, that's 85,
Uh-huh.
it's just a longer time span.
Okay. Now, Could we operate without the parent fee? We probably could. But we wouldn't be able to provide near the program that we provide.
Yeah.
And we couldn't do our one about it. Okay? And so the parent fee and tuition is also receipted by Clanton Elementary. Even though we receive money, we receive that tuition from the YMCA and Clanton Elementary, we drive that money over to Clanton Elementary each day so that it can be receipted under one person. Okay, does that make sense? I didn't know that. I learned that this week.
Can I clarify something? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Not Clayton Elementary doesn't receive it.
Yeah.
The bookkeeper for the CCCC receives it after school hours.
Yeah.
Who is a
Who is Renee Morgan.
teacher so I apologize.
I just want her to think, or them to think that Clayton Elementary is receiving it or not.
Yeah, a member of our crew who just happens to be an educator or an employee of the Board of Education. That's all I meant by that. Okay, so now that's those two buckets. Now let's talk about the family guidance bucket, a little bit smaller bucket. The YMCA, and I think there was a question about foster kids. We'll come to that in a minute. But family guidance is a payment, and we receive money anywhere from 6 to 15 kids, and that varies each day. We're not real sure. I don't know. I couldn't tell you the day, but on average, we'll get anywhere from 6 to 15. All right. The payment that we get, they don't pay that monthly tuition fee. Okay. They tell us how they're going to pay. Okay, and they tell us that they're going to pay anywhere from $1.99 a day to maybe $3.50, maybe $4. So let's just say $2 to $4 each time they visit. Okay, now the problem that we're having is they don't always swipe the card every time they come in so that we can keep up with it. So I think we've identified that, and we're going to try to figure out a way to capture that more so that we can make sure that we recoup that money from the family guidance. When they don't swipe, they don't pay, and we just absorb the cost. It's no big deal. We just keep going.
Right.
Okay.
So how is that money then? Because Miss Colson had contacted me after our last board meeting, and so that's kind of what made me aware of the family guidance stuff. And so I reached out to family guidance.
Okay.
And so the way the lady explained it to me was that the Chilton County YMCA is the active member of family guidance. Chilton County Children's Club is not, Clinton Elementary School is not. So she said the money would be sent to YMCA. So then how are you dispersing that to the Chilton County Children's Club?
So that money that we get, and there's a max on that too, is it $85 a month?
A week.
A week maximum?
No, a month.
A month.
21.25
$21.25 a week. Okay. So from what the way I understand it is that money comes into the YMCA because they will only allow one entity that is licensed to have that scanner.
Correct.
Okay. So that money comes into the YMCA. We do not transfer that money over into the CCC. And here's where I'm going to need y'all to kind of help me clarify this, because it's going to throw a red flag that we probably keep that money or misuse it. All right. So help me from here. We keep that money, does not transfer over. But in the beginning, our two directors thought that they had a way to fix that, to work that out. Then they decided that because of the time and energy and administrative costs to switch, to write the checks and keep up with it, to pay for the Y, to pay the CES, and then CES, CCCCC, and then the CCCCC, whatever, pays the Y for an extra additional membership fee, which wasn't much, maybe $15, $20 or something like that. It was almost a wash each month. It was almost a wash. Sometimes Plant Elementary would make more, or CCC, I'm thinking. And then sometimes the other one would, but it wouldn't be much. It would just be probably less than $100. So our directors went to the grant committee and to the Alabama State Department of Education and told them, hey, this is what we're thinking about doing so that we don't have to pay somebody an extra hour maybe of administrative cost to switch that money back and forth. And both of them said, it's fine. We don't care what you do with it. We understand what you're saying and however y'all decide to do it, and we're okay with it. We're gonna see it anyway when it comes through that ES2 document that I talked about. And so that's how that works. It's confusing. It confused me. I had to get them to tell me about 4 or 5 times. I had to ask that question.
So let me
And I
ask,
still may have messed it up.
okay, so let me ask this question. This was prompted from me calling family guidance.
Okay?
And I don't even know if anybody can answer this question for you, but I know that this program is funded federally by the 21st Century Grant, and family guidance is also state or federal funds.
Okay.
So is that something that needs to be done? Using state or federal funds to pay a federally funded program? That's my question. And I know you might not be connected to that right now. Do you want to attempt it before I go to the next question, or?
No, well,
So what is your actual question? Is it legal for family guidance funds to be a part of the CCCC?
I think it's Maryland. You probably answer that question.
Well, I can shed some light on it. The family guidance money, and I need to clarify, it's not just for foster children.
Correct.
It is for children of, they could be working parents that are income eligible, or it could be foster children, or it could be children that are in our protective service cases that have been the subject of child abuse and neglect.
Right.
But the eligibility is not the program. The eligibility follows a child based on their parent working and their parent meeting income requirements. Or with foster children, the foster parent has to be working. Or with child abuse and neglect, it's an automatic eligibility because of the safety issues. So the eligibility is with the child, and it has to be to a licensed child care entity, which the YMCA, and then by virtue the CCCC are. And so I don't see that as a conflict any more than any other child care entity that might receive federal funds.
Well, I think my question was, but other child care entities are not federally funded. Like if they were going
More
for
that this is
some-
your family guidance fund.
Oh, I know. I'm not asking this appropriately, apparently, I don't.
Well, I think initially when the discussion was brought up, the question was, it's kind of like having a funding source. So if this funding source, 21st Century Grant, allows for foster children or other low-income students to attend a program without paying for it, then it's kind of like you have insurance. If you got coverage over here, the secondary insurance didn't kick in. So the question is, if there is payment coming through the 21st Century Grant, meaning because they are low income and they should go without paying anything, why is there a requirement that family guidance contribute
Okay.
towards that?
Thank you for that, because there is no requirement for that. The family guidance said, oh, you have that program, we'll pay for that. The YMCA does not require them to pay.
Well, and may I say, within the grant, they don't say this much of the grant is specifically for this much of the grant is specifically for that. That's up to us as the writers of the grant, so to speak. The majority of our grant money is in personnel, but there is no stipulation in that grant that if you have children who are receiving, subsidies or whatever, this much of the grant has to go to that. That is not there.
Yeah,
Okay.
you want to go ahead and run it? Okay, so do you have that, like the percentage of what you spend your, budget on?
Yes, you were given that in the ES2. That Form 3 shows you, Ms. Morgan, and you can help me, shows you exactly what we spend on personnel every month.
I mean, for the whole
year. That was for the whole year.
Okay, but I mean, okay, so, but I meant,
Sitting here today, she
Percentage.
can't answer that.
yes, okay.
Well, it's in their hands. I gave every board member a copy.
All right, so the family guidance bucket actually, when it's maxed out, we're talking about $1,200 a month. And it doesn't get maxed out because they don't always swipe their card. $1,200 a month.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Also relevant, I'm sorry, but I think it's very important that a family guidance child may come on Monday one week. They may come Tuesday, Thursday the next week. You only get funds for that exact amount of time they come. They don't pay a monthly fee.
That's right.
Ms. Nelson will say something.
I want to clarify, I think you had a question when we talked about the card. The card is entirely a time and attendance mechanism. It's not like there's any money on the card.
Yes, that's how I understood it. With that, yes, ma'am. Okay, so I have one more question, for this. So my question is, if the YMCA is the site that is approved, but these students never actually end up going there, I mean, I'm just curious about that, because if the YMCA is the entity that is approved, but they're actually at Clayton Elementary School, is that gonna be an issue?
No, I don't think so. I didn't know that. I mean,
Okay,
because they know exactly what's going on with our program. And
Okay.
they know how all of that kind of ebbs and flows, and
Okay.
they're fine.
and the reason I asked this question is because when I spoke with the lady at Family Guidance, she acted like
Yeah.
she didn't.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? So
Okay.
that's why I'm asking you. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, I can't really elaborate on it.
Yeah.
I just know that they all know how the program works. And
Maybe
so,
not all,
well, maybe not.
because there's a lot of people. But we have a annual review, and it was actually, where they come through and go through exactly how we do it.
And I have a follow-up question for when we were speaking about the money being received for the Chilton County Children's Club at Clayton Elementary School.
Mhm.
The question is, does the Chilton County Children's Club have their own computer?
I haven't heard.
Or is Board of Education computers being used? Okay, that was the question.
Is there an issue with that? Do we
Oh, I
need
don't
to,
know, I just was asking.
do we
the
need
question.
do we need to provide
I
a
don't
computer to
I guess
do
that would be
that
a.
accounting on?
Oh, but as far as the computer, I think that particular board member just wanted to know how that information is being maintained. Who owns the equipment that is being maintained. That's my assumption.
And it's web-based software.
So it's not like, so they're just logging in from their work computer.
It's not web-based, I'm sorry. I'm gonna say, it's not web-based.
It's
Yeah. I'm sorry, QuickBooks, it's not, it's not.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it was a web-based version.
I'm sorry. It's
Okay,
desktop.
okay.
Do we need to address that since it's not a web-based program?
I think that. Are there any follow-ups for that?
Are there any follow-ups? Nobody's seen anything.
I got one. Can I speak? But I need to take the
Yes.
seat. I mean, I'm just trying to follow procedure now. I'm a new guy. All right, two things. Since we're talking about a car machine that's sometimes not being swiped, if it's an easy fix, what is the procedure to move that machine to where the bookkeeper is?
I don't know that it is an easy fix.
Now, I will say this, the Family Guidance lady said that they only get one machine. I would offend my man.
And we
She told
tried.
me,
We tried to get both sides licensed. And
she said it's a very rigorous process.
it's a
They
huge
only
deal
allow-
to keep
they only
that,
allow-
to keep all of those.
And we were licensed.
What does it take to get licensed? I mean, if the
I
CCC,
lot.
It's a lot.
Not more than.
Of
I
rules
will,
and
and
regulations.
I was gonna, the lady thing we got to do, because I asked questions, she said there are only, she had to call me back, but she ended up telling me there's only 2 YMCA's in their district that was able to get approved, so I mean, I will say that.
and other than the family guidance, what percentage of the money is turned into the YMCA?
None.
None? Okay, so that's the only money that's,
It may be given to, Julia Thomas, who is what do you call, part-time director there, and she drives it over to Renee.
Ms. Colson has something.
I just want to clarify, there's a lot of different entities involved in this, and you're doing government. To me, I should know that. Okay, the family guidance folks are not the licensing entity. Family guidance is only the eligibility agency where the federal money gets sent to the state DHR, which is not us. State DHR to 3 different child care management agencies to 9 different districts. So family guidance, I can very well understand why the person there wouldn't know anything about, that person, I mean, the other side. However, it is state DHR that licenses everything, it's like a daycare.
Yes, yes.
And I know that was a great effort. You're right, most of the wives don't have that, because it is so rigorous.
We're good? All right, so moving on to the next question, it says, what does the Chilton County YMCA contribute to the daily operation of the CCCC after-school program? Please provide a detailed list. The Chilton County Board of Education furnishes, I've been furniture shopping for the last 2 weeks. Facilities, transportation, $15,000 plus each year in buses, drivers and gas, liability insurance for transportation and facilities, feeding program and utilities. We basically provide the same thing except for the buses and I guess maybe transportation upkeep and maintenance. I don't know that we only pay $100 a month
Right.
for use of that, so per bus. I don't know, does anybody want to elaborate on
That
anything
list,
else?
that, to answer the question, Mr. Calhoun.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
That list, that there was an MOU in a memorandum of understanding included
Yeah,
in the grant,
I got
which
that.
you have.
Mhm.
And it lists out the responsibilities of both agencies.
Mhm.
So you can definitely review that.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of hits on one of the biggest issues. She said that the responsibility of each agency, but I mean, you and I have spoke, and I want to be clear, there's not a partnership between the Board of Education and the YMCA. I wish there were, because you and I spoke about that, because on the grant, it says Clanton Elementary School and the Chilton County YMCA. And I think ideally, and it was set up however it was set up, and we're here because we're about to enter a new grant cycle. So I think from speaking with other board members, I think that's something that we would like to see, is that if we're going to contribute all of this, then let's make it a partnership, a true partnership between the Chilton County YMCA and the Board of Education.
May I speak to that?
Sure.
When the grant was written, it lists on the grant page, and where's the grant, the original grant? We have a copy of that. It was in one of the packets.
And I'm listening. I'm trying to do what-
But the grant title page says YMCA and Clanton Elementary. But it also lists all 9 schools in Chilton County on the grant. Now, if we're debating words, it may not say Chilton County Board of Education, but it lists 9 schools in your school district.
Yes.
So I think it's a given, in a sense, that we're serving Chilton County schools. The legal document, which was drawn up by Mr. Jackson, lists the Chilton County Board of Education. It doesn't say Clanton Elementary. Okay, do you want to see that copy?
I got it.
I mean, if you want to slide it across the table.
Sure.
That has been given to several people at the board and on the board several times.
I have never seen it.
Well, it's been given. I don't know how.
I would think that's probably on file somewhere here, but who knows? I find myself looking for documents all the time that I can't find.
So that was created by Mr. John Hollis Jackson, who was the board attorney. And it outlines and says Chilton County Board of Education, and that is an agreement that the board would provide transportation services and, what is the other thing? And space. So it was really the transportation was something, if a board member that was here before remembers, that Mr. Glasstop went back in and amended the payment of the driver and the gasoline through the 16% of funds. I'm not transportation supervisor, Mr. Griffin might can speak to that, but
These are for like the same thing, but a different time period. This one is for 17.
Medicine,
Yeah, this one's fine for 17.
that's not it. That's the agreement with John Hop that the
That's the
attorney
one.
wrote up, I believe.
This is just the.
I think this is the first one that was ever drawn up.
There's only been one.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just a cooperative agreement.
May I see that? This agreement, and it lists the board's contribution right here. It's signed by the vice president, the superintendent, and it's notarized. Okay, so that would tell you what was agreed to. Okay.
And she is correct, because I was transportation supervisor when that was negotiated, and that was great. Dilla just put to clarify all that, so we were in compliance with reimbursement and federal guidelines. There's lots of time spent making sure that was in compliance.
Okay, so I feel like that when you and I talked, Miss Angie, that was kind of a sticking point maybe with the bus fee.
Well, and
When you do the math on that, I think that $15,000 amount just really,
and just the liability that we
Yeah.
carry.
yeah. Well, I guess the previous board, saw the value in the program and they bought into it and they said, this is what we will supply. This is the way we will support this program. And so we just always operated under that. I don't think that the Y board is, I think we'd be fine if we need to go back and renegotiate something. I know that $15,000, it sounds like a lot of money for a year, but I also know that your feeding program profits about $10,000 a month, which so in the first month, you would almost make back that entire amount. And so if we wanted to negotiate the bus expense, I think we would also like to maybe negotiate the feeding program, because the YMCA is also licensed to be able to provide the feeding program. And so.
So why wouldn't you do it? Why didn't you do that initially?
We didn't do it initially because it's a partnership and we're trying to work together. You guys are giving us $15,000 worth of service. And so we agreed to let you guys handle the child nutrition program. We don't handle that at all. Every bit of that runs through your child nutrition director. And we don't know, we don't keep up with it. We don't ask for anything. That's her, and we trust her to do her job on that.
And she's on site, so if we want to get her to explain that, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't understand completely every bit of that. She can explain.
Can I try to explain?
If you like.
Yeah, okay. So for each child, for each meal that's served, the child nutrition program is reimbursed $4.25 per meal,
Per kid,
per kid, per kid.
because it's a meal and a snack.
Right, and so all of that funnels through the Board of Education's nutrition program. So they provide it, they prepare it, provide it, and then they file that with the State Department of Education. And then the State Department of Education reimburses the Board of Education Child Nutrition Program. That's the way I understand it. I don't think that the CCCC is really involved with the meals part of it.
Okay.
That's just something that they agreed in the beginning to do it that way, and we were fine with that.
So do you know what, grant that is that they're using, or?
It's part of this year's
It's-
CFP program. Not a grant. Yeah, that's part of
Ms.
it.
Tasha Hayes, CMP Director.
Okay.
You gotta come here so you can be seen on TV.
Oh, gosh.
Stand right there.
Okay.
They were asking about the way the program is set up, reimbursement of meal at the after-school program, so we beat around the bush. Can you explain the bush to us?
Okay.
I've tried, I don't know that.
No, you're fine, you're fine. Okay, so we're reimbursed through how many children that we feed. So basically for a snack, we reimburse like so much. And then for the supper, we're reimbursed for so much. So, I mean, kind of ask me some questions, don't you think? I've got some like numbers. If you need, oh, there we go, there's some numbers. If you need like what we profited, things like that, which I think you mentioned earlier, around $10,000 a month. And that's a pretty accurate statement. to be
Now,
honest with you.
let's just talk about that for a minute.
Sure.
So the money that you make off of this program do you have any guidelines on how you can spend that money? Can it only be spent on certain things? What have you? I mean, you're getting this $10,000, but can you just spend it on whatever you want to?
Well, I mean, we obviously put it back into the program as far as the food on our part for CMP, for our workers, for supplies, because we have to pay those people to be there as well. So we just put everything back into the actual program
Okay,
itself.
so after you pay workers, what have you, you're telling me you still have $10,000 left over?
I'll tell you that for the 7.5 months that we did the program for this past year, that we profited $97,000.
That's after
That's after we,
payroll and food.
yes, we did 129,000 in revenue. We did the 31,000, that's just Clinton Elementary. I've got all the schools, but that's just Clinton Elementary. So we profit 97,888.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do all the kids eat at Clayton Elementary School, or do they eat at their own individual schools before pickup?
They will eat okay, let's just say for Thorsby, for instance, if they want to eat at that school before then they can eat at the other schools. But if we're doing this program here, they come there, yes, they have the option. Now, they can eat at their school if they wanted to,
Okay.
but they have the option to come eat at Clinton Elementary too.
Okay, so do the individual lunchrooms get credit for that, or how does that work? I mean, what they made off this, is this just for Clayton Elementary School?
Well, what kind of happens, it kind of is all one big, because it's like the CACSP program, what it is, all kind of one little bunch, I guess you could say. And sometimes, for instance, not all the schools profit the $97,000. So sometimes some schools can help the other schools as far as with the labor costs and things like that. Does that answer you? No? Maybe.
Richie.
Do you have a better way to say it?
Richie Kennedy is the-
Do you have a better way to say
She's
it?
the CFP bookkeeper, so.
Yeah.
Can you give
I
the-
ran all these numbers today, and we operate the CSF program at 6 schools. If we did not operate it at Clinton Elementary, we could not afford to do it for the sporting people at the other schools, I'll be honest with you. We do profit minimal at the other schools, but if we didn't have this one, we wouldn't.
I mean, your other ones are, 20, maybe 14,000, got one that doesn't even do 1,000, so yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
But it all goes back into CMP fund. and
Right.
That is still federal regulated money that we cannot spend any of without the federal government saying, yes, you can spend, you can.
so
spend that.
so this extra money that you have that's generated through this program. So tell me what you're using that extra money for at other schools?
Well, for right now, it's covering payroll since we lost income for half of
Yeah.
March, April, and May.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. It's just
But I mean,
Just a
typically, you
cushion.
said it was for what?
what we operate the other schools for is for like after school athletics.
Usually it's just
Like
your
the
football
actual
team,
athletics.
baseball team, yeah.
Oh,
It is the majority of our other sponsors that we do it for. Clayton Elementary is another sponsor that we do it for.
That's
So
great.
They just happen to have the
They just
program
happen to have
with
it.
it,
right,
you know,
They feed 400 plus kids, but
Yeah.
others might be.
Yeah,
top,
So
good deal.
yeah.
Good
If
deal.
that answers it.
We think that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we do too.
I mean, I love, I mean, the part of the feeding part of it is, I mean, when you think of how many people you're feeding, you know.
Yeah, that's great.
And we don't have an issue with that, even though you're profiting almost $100,000.
But you need to know this is the first time it's ever been explained to us, and we've asked.
Well, good.
So
I'm glad.
that's great.
Yeah,
Thank you for
I'm
coming in
glad.
here.
That's the
And
whole
by the way,
reason why
I
we're
like
here.
her explanation better. Just so you know, Mr. McCallum.
She knows way more about
No,
it.
I don't know about that.
That's why she was hanging out there all the
I've been here the whole time, I just been watching.
I wouldn't get it.
Yeah, I don't mind.
I'm glad that you were able to explain that better, but I think the $10,000 mark that I brought up was pretty spot on. So
Yeah, that's roughly, yeah, for sure.
we're excited that the nutritional program benefits from this
Yeah.
program.
Yeah.
Because it not only does it help the kids that are within our program, it helps the whole county. Which is, and we're fine with that, and you're not gonna find us here asking for specific expenditures and what are you spending that money, we don't care. And it's not our responsibility to keep up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Any more questions? You're good?
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, you're welcome.
Okay, I do have a question. Let me go back. I had two board members in the same question. The grant funds that you receive every month, one of them says, is the grant check made out to the YMCA or the Chilton County Children's Club?
Okay, I think that money is electronically transferred into the CCCC account.
It goes to the YMCA electronically and then it's
I
transferred
stand
directly to
corrected.
the CCCC. It goes to
That's
us
why
because
we-
we're named, because the Y is named as the fiscal agent.
Because we're
And
fiscal.
and in that ES2, there was a deposit detail. We have a deposit detail, so it shows every drawdown when it went into the CCCC.
Second question? No? Okay.
They both had the same question.
So, okay. So the next question is, who owns all the items purchased by the 21st Century and CCCC program funds? CES or YMCA? Where would these items remain should the program no longer exist? Would they remain at Clanton Elementary or would they remain at the YMCA? So all purchases that are made with the grant money is approved by the grant initially before we can ever purchase anything. They approve it. What we purchase with their money, they have the option, if our program is terminated, and I hope it is not, they can come in and take those, whether it's property or whether it's supplies, and they can distribute that out to other programs that may be close by within the state that could benefit from it. Now, there may be some things that are permanent or stationary at Clanton Elementary or at the Y, and they may or may not take that.
May I add just one statement to that? If the programs are discontinued, you would have to submit a request. Let me back up and say, if it's discontinued, then they will have that option to come in and do. Right. If your programs continue, then you are allowed to keep their equipment if you don't have the grant, which is not a given, that we have the grant.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important to realize.
Yeah.
Okay. The grant committee.
The
So it's on loan wherever it is.
Yeah,
I just want to
Get an
basically
understanding.
what's purchased at site one would stay at site one, what's purchased at site two would stay at site two. And site one is Clinton Elementary, site two is the YMCA.
Okay. So the next question says, in the grant, it shows 44 employees, but the number of employees sent to the BOE members shows 23 employees. How many employees are employed by the program, and why are they paid a various rate of pay? Okay. So our staff, and I could be wrong, I'm probably going to get this wrong. Our staff consists of about 23 to 25 employees on a daily basis. We also have what's called purchased services. And that would be a cooking instructor, a taekwondo instructor, basketball, baseball, archery, you name it. That's why we're number one, is because we offer all of these purchased services. And I think when you add those employees, those contracted out in with that number, I think that was the discrepancy there. Now, if you want to pin me down to the number of employees, you just going to have to pin me down. I don't micromanage like that. I just don't have that number, and I'm sorry. Now, the way they're paid by classification, not by various rates. So if you are classified as a director, then you get paid a certain amount of money. If you are classified as a teacher, then you get paid a certain amount of money that's different than the director. And then if you're a para teacher, then your pay is different than. So each category is different. And that's about all I can tell you about that.
Are the teachers paid according to their certification,
All certified teachers are paid.
whether it's class A or class B? Okay.
Okay. Next question. The grant shows around $8,000 set aside for 2 custodians. Who are the custodians and what funds are they paid out of? Who had that question? I'd like to know. I don't know who the custodians are. I don't know their names. Is it relevant? I don't know. Both custodians are paid the same amount, but both custodians may or may not work the same amount of hours. Therefore, one custodian may get paid a little bit more based on the hours that they work. They're paid out of the CCCC fund.
Indirect, that's our.
Indirect, that's some of our indirect. Yes, I'm sorry, I should have said that, I'm sorry.
Which we still pay it, it's just how it's categorized in the grant format. There is under indirect costs.
Is that for custodian at site one and site two?
Yes, there's one for each side.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. All right, so the next question, why do students not eat at their home school before being transported? And
I think
she probably touched on that.
So let me give you a question I have from the board member that goes back to, it says if that money can be transferred, and I think referring to the 21st century grant funds that are actually electronically deposited into the YMCA account, why can't the other monies be transferred?
Because that money comes from the grant committee and the Alabama State Department of Education approves that. The other is that family guidance money, and it can only go to the licensed agent, which the YMCA is the licensed agent.
Are you asking about the C&P money being transferred? What money is that for?
I don't know, the person who sent that to me, please specify.
We have to know what type
Unless
of
you like
money
to speak.
you're talking about. I mean, if it's the C&P money, that's totally boards.
Yeah.
We don't have anything.
I don't think that's what it's referencing.
Yeah, I think they're referring
I think they're probably referencing, yeah, the family guidance.
Is it a secret of who's asking the question, or can you announce
Well,
it?
I mean, if they want to.
Okay, over time, say, not secret.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Ms. Jackie.
No, I've already said it.
Oh, okay.
They're trying to find it.
Okay.
So.
We're really trying to be as
Just talking about
transparent
the
as
money
we
drawn
can.
down from the State Department.
If it's C&P money, that's gonna be,
And that's,
the federal government's gonna tell you what you can do with that anyway. She said that, okay?
That's right. right, so the next question is on the next page, on my next page. It says, explain in detail the partnership or grant between the Board of Education, CNP department, and the CCCCP. That's probably another.
Yeah, we've done that.
Yeah. So what are the procedures for parents who can't afford the program tuition? The financial assistance form that I have been given in review shows parents applying to the YMCA, not the CCC. Okay, so the procedure is that you fill out the grant application, scholarship application. And the scholarship application in the very beginning was adopted from the YMCA sliding scale. So it looks like you're filling out the YMCA and kind of you are, but we're using it because that's the way we wrote the program. If there's a conflict with the Y being on there, I'm sure we can probably redesign that form so that it does not look like somebody is applying to the Y. I just don't think that's ever been an issue, but we'll be more than glad to try to fix that. All right.
So who reviews the applications and makes the decision?
I think our directors kind of create a plan and then they submit that to the grant committee and maybe to the Alabama State Department of Education for their approval before we actually.
Not for the scholarship.
Not for the
like
scholarship?
The side directors look over it and plug in numbers, there's a formula. Just like the 300 gig lunch.
See, I'm showing how much I really don't know.
All in certain categories.
You're doing very well.
Not getting it right.
You're doing very well, Shirley.
I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Can you call CCC?
Yeah.
C4, C4, okay.
That's a great idea.
Crazy.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Okay. All right, let's see. Please provide a detailed explanation of how parents and guardians apply for the after-school program and for financial assistance. So that would go back to that application, that scholarship application.
May I say one thing?
Yes.
The other way is that if a family cannot pay, of which we have many that have come to me personally or Ms. Patterson and said, we can't pay anything. The procedure is, that's okay, you still come. That's the procedure.
All right, and then what type of financial assistance is available? And that would be the scholarship fund, where they get a reduced rate.
Or they just come tell us they can't pay.
Or they just, yeah. Or
But
they
if they tell you they get paid, do they still have to go through the whole application process, or is it just a matter of saying, because I know, I think maybe Ms. Patterson tried to explain this to me. As far as, because it asks for, like your previous tax documents and stuff like that. If they come to you and they say, hey, I'm gonna have to pay, are they still required to bring you all of those documentation?
We will attempt to guide them to give us the information they have. But if the family comes to me and says, you know, we're living in a hotel, which we had this past year, I don't have anything, my children need to want to come, absolutely they come.
Okay, good.
Okay. So the next question, have any students been denied access to the program due to the inability to pay? I think we just kind of touched on that. Now, I said previously that we're not perfect, okay? Our program is not perfect. It's very good, but it's not perfect. If there are isolated incidents or an isolated incident where someone maybe felt like they were denied access, then we would like to know about that. But we don't know about that right now currently, okay? We would love to find out more information about that and see how we can readdress that and see if we can get that child or those children back into the program.
How would you want those parents to notify you of their concerns?
They need to come to one of the directors, one of the supervisors and tell us, or the directors at the sites.
Next question, have any students been removed from the program due to the inability to pay? To our knowledge, no. And we're confident in that. But then again, there may be a situation where a parent felt like, hey, they're telling me I can't come because I can't pay. And so if that's the case, we would love to know about that so that we can revisit that and try to get those kids as well back.
Well, let me ask you an even more relevant question. If a Board of Education member is called and made aware of this.
Yeah.
And said, you need to contact supervisor, but they refuse. Do I call? Or Mr. Smith, or, I mean, because people reach out to us, they,
Yeah.
you know how that is,
Sure.
you're in a position too, so.
I would say the fastest, most easiest way that you can get to a director.
Yeah.
So that we can address that
Okay.
situation ASAP. We've got too good of a program.
Yeah.
And we won't keep that way. We can always make it better. It can always be worse and it can always be better.
Hey, I do have a question. So I ain't gonna text it, I'll just say it. When you say we, who does that consist of?
We
Yep.
would be the board,
Yeah.
the YMCA board as the governing board, and also our directors. I mean, we're all one big family.
At any point, would the Board of Education be included in we?
We would love for that, but it's hard to consider us all we when we have these kind of questions.
Well,
Put
that's
us
what I'm
on
trying
the
to,
fence.
that's why we're all together
Yeah.
tonight, in my opinion. I can
We're all
only speak for
for
me.
it.
So I'm trying to get to an end
Right.
of the problem.
Yeah. We want for we to include everybody. And if I've made you feel like it's not, I
No, I
apologize.
was just asking.
I want we to be everybody in this room.
Good.
I really do. And our board does too. And I think we can get there. I think. Okay. Since the Board of Education furnishes
Wait, go
transportation,
back up one before
oh,
that.
I missed one?
Right up before it.
All right, why doesn't all students in our school system have access to this program, specifically Verbena and Maplesville students? Well, we promote the program in every community and at every school. Not every school has kids that actually follow through and participate. But as far as I know, we don't exclude anybody from this program. We do not target anybody intentionally to say, oh, no, they're too far.
Well,
Or
and Ms.
they only
Patterson,
have one.
Ms. Patterson and I had this discussion after board meeting, the last board meeting. And so, I told her, I know last year there were I think there were 3 or 4 students from Verbena. I had parents contact me, I even had the principal contact me. And said that they were told they could not participate because there was not 10 or more children to pick up.
Yes.
And now I just want to clear the air about this. So Ms. Patterson and I talked about that last night. I told her, I said, if we're gonna foot the bill for transportation and there's one kid, we would love for you to stand and get that one kid. We want every student to have the ability to go there. We don't want
Right.
transportation
Right on.
to stop 3 kids from getting to participate in the program.
Okay.
So just
Yeah.
to be clear, I mean, and she said she's fine with that.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think initially there was a number set on where the buses would go based on, and maybe that's that 10 number.
But not by us. It was set by.
Right, well, right, but 10 or more, we run a bus. 10 or less, or 9 or less, then not. But then I think after a period of time, everybody kind of saw that we were still leaving kids out. There were still kids that wanted to participate in this program. And I think that the Board of Education made a great decision and said, forget the 10 number. If a kid wants to do it, let's go get them. And so I think that's why that was changed.
And the board didn't change that, the superintendent did.
The superintendent changed it. So,
And let me
Either
clarify.
way, it's
And
great.
let me clarify this, just because we provide transportation, there's logistical issues too. So I don't want to sit here tonight and go, okay, we're all for transportation. We have to find somebody to drive the bus. And so a lot of times that's difficult to do because it's a long way, so maybe it's going to be. So I can't guarantee that we'll have somebody, but we will diligently seek somebody to do that.
I'm fully confident that the board or the superintendent will make every effort he can to make sure that kids are picked up. I think maybe one of the issues with that is the parents love the idea of their children being transported into town to the Y or to Clanton Elementary, but then they also wanted that kid transported back to their home. And because that was not an option, they chose not to participate.
Can I add something to that? Just a question.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm here to try to make this thing better. So-
We're here to answer. We want
And
transparency.
it's just a question. And
Okay.
so, talking about that particular thing. Would it be feasible to open up a second location at a different end of the county?
I'm going to defer that to the people that have written the program.
Sure, I'm just asking. We're talking about trying to get as many kids in this program as we can.
Right.
And if the reason is for transportation,
Transportation.
if they're gonna pick them up by 5:30, which is what they do at Clanton Elementary School, would it be feasible to do it at a different location? And they may not have the option to come to y'all. If they do, I don't have a problem with them going, but that may up this number for this after-school program, and to me, that's why we all should be here.
Right.
So, and it's just a question. I just wanted to ask it out loud.
I don't know the logistics of that. I would think that to get a facility approved, there may be a bunch of hoops to jump through, but can either of you elaborate?
I can. When you write a grant for the 21st century grant is $150,000.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if you serve 15 children with that $150,000 or if you serve 350 with it like we did. So you have to have someone write a grant for, let's say that Jemison Elementary wanted to have one. Then they would have to write a grant and be approved, or their grant would have to be awarded. $150,000 from one grant, like say our grant, if we have it again, could never fund satellite locations of the program. Because there wouldn't be enough money.
So I guess my question is, if somebody else wrote the grant, would y'all be willing to partner with them?
The grant stipulates that one grant cannot serve more than one population. So if Jemison area writes a grant, then they would write it just for Jemison children. And that would mean those Jemison children couldn't come to ours. If we write it for Clanton, that would mean, you see what I'm saying, that you can't cross.
So if we wrote it for the Chilton County
populations.
Board of Education, would that entice more than one location?
You would
instead of-
still only get
Isn't it? That's the
$150,000.
reason all of those schools were listed in the original agreement, was for that purpose.
The issue is you don't have enough money because you just get 150,000. It wouldn't matter if we served 800 children. That's all you get. So to fully function or to operate a quality program with enough staff to keep ratios down and
Right.
such, you wouldn't have enough.
So what
money
happens
to
if you
do
get
that.
a influx of an additional 300 kids next year? What happens then?
Well, we have to depend on parent tuition to be able to maintain. Or like when I had this grant, before we did it as a partnership back in, I think Mr. Moore signed it. When were you lost track of time? But it was 9 or 10 years ago, right? Sorry. Yeah, so at that time, we had a grant for $150,000. So we had to cap enrollment. When you say, like right now, if we said we were bringing in 300 more, we might not be able to do that if parents don't pay the tuition. You'd have to cap enrollment once you reach capacity of what your 150,000 would pay. Because they have ratio requirements, an 8-to-1, like we can't have more than 8 kids with one teacher in an academic setting, or 15 kids with one teacher in an extracurricular setting. So your money wouldn't cover it, is what it would come down to.
Okay, and maybe that's where we may have to step in. But again, I want every kid in this county to have access to this after-school program. And whatever it takes, I'm willing to do.
Sure. I think if the board would fund a quality after-school program at every school, I think that.
But I'm gonna say this too, and I'm gonna say it out loud, and if it offends people, I'm sorry. But when we ask the question and we get turned on deaf ears, it kind of puts a sour taste in your mouth sometimes. It has nothing to do with shutting the program down.
Right.
It's about growing this thing and making sure every kid in this county has access to this. And I'm all for that, and I want to say that out loud.
I can get on board with that.
Good. I think most of us can, so,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right. Where was it?
Since the
Since-
feasibility.
Yeah, so since the Board of Education furnishes transportation, facilities, utilities, and supplies, why are the C4 financials not available for our CSFO to review? Why would you want to review it?
It's running through our school. I mean, we're a part, I mean, you say we're a partner with you. I mean, just for good checks and balances, so that we know.
Yeah. But now we run it through the State Board of Education every month.
But it's like you said the other day, you said there have been audits. Well, I mean, well then provide the audits to us when you're audited, and then, do you see what I'm saying?
I think I do, but now let me get this straight. The Board of Education's sole purpose in this partnership is to provide a facility and to provide transportation. That's what we agreed upon. Everything else is up to us to maintain and make sure that we're doing it right. Why would you want to get over here where we're into the finances of the program?
Well, I mean, aren't we all working together? I mean,
We are, but we don't tell y'all how to do the transportation. We don't tell you how to do the meals.
Excuse me, can I say something here, Lynn? And I've been really good, and I'll say one thing, and I'll shut up again. Because it's been a sore spot with me the whole time, and I'm the board member that is sitting here and asked questions for 3 years. Not once has this person reached out to me. I was told that nothing I have to say is important to hear. When we voted on the transportation, I had talked to the State Department, and I said that and kept my mouth shut. Alabama code says that our children are to pay mileage. Every child in this school system, whether they go on a field trip, they go on scholars day, they go to football games, they go cheerleading, they go band, they pay mileage. It's the code of Alabama, the law. The day I laid that on this board table, Ms. Patterson told Mr. John Hodge Jackson that they do things different. If everything's legit, why don't those students pay mileage? And why do you have a problem with laying your books out? I took this to the auditors for 2 years to get my questions answered because nobody else would answer them here. You can smile and Patterson being what's straight.
Okay.
And why don't you lay them out? We just want to know. I mean,
We don't have a problem laying out. We don't have a problem laying it out. We have nothing to hide. But we're the fiscal agents. We're responsible for it. It's not your concern. You don't need to be worried about it. We got it
Well, by law,
by law.
my students in this county have to pay mileage. And those students are.
That's when the mileage changed right there. That's when Mr. Glasscock sent the email to Mr. Jackson about the mileage. You know, so if that may help this problem, then.
That's when it was laid on the table, Ms. Girlfield.
No, that's an email.
And I think we're probably gonna have to
So
renegotiate
that's all I'm
this
saying.
thing, and we'll be glad to do that.
And
Because
just,
we don't want that to hold back.
Yeah, yeah.
and
We didn't come up with that number.
And what she's talking about as far as mileage is that standard rate of mileage reimbursement is $1.20 to $1.30 a mile, set every year by the state. So it'd be reimbursement for the number of miles. I mean, that's not in the agreement now, but it could be.
Yeah.
And so the average rate of pay of finding the driver is negotiable. So we could, it would be responsibility of the board to do that.
Yeah.
So, and I will say up front, it's not an easy task to find somebody to drive a bus for that time of the day. So
Yeah, I think it's, I think it's fair what you said, Mr. Sherman, that this may be something we revisit. This email does say that it is exempt, meaning we agree per agreement to exempt payment of the 120. So if that's something that the board needs to revisit, that's something that can be.
And we're more than welcome to revisit.
Thank
We're,
you.
we're not here to argue about that. We're just here to be transparent.
We appreciate
And let's
that.
move, and let's make it better. Okay. Okay, if the C4 program is funded by the 21st Century Grant, what are the donations you spoke of used for? So the donation is also part of that parent money / tuition / donation. All three of those words kind of mean the same thing. And I think we talked about that. Next question, is the YMCA paying for mileage to use the Board of Education buses? No, we have a set fee that was agreed upon, and so we pay that fee. Please explain why your C4 brochures and registration forms do not notify parents and guardians that financial aid is available. I think at one time it was, but the state required that we had to add some verbiage on our brochure, and I think it fell off. For whatever reason, it may not be on there. We're more than welcome to put that on.
I mean, I personally would really like to see that.
Yeah,
We agree.
I mean,
That's something that brought to our attention with these questions. So
Yeah.
that's definitely something.
May I say that up until this year, this has gone home every year. This was last year's 18-19. And you'll see right here, it notes twice that, I don't have my glasses on, but somewhere it says financial assistance is available. If you'll look at that, it probably did not go out this year, to be honest, because my husband was in the hospital. And I did not start the year, and that may not have gone out this year, but you'll see it noted twice on there. And that did go home to parents. If they didn't know it, then I'm sorry, it must not have been read.
So why are most parents and guardians unaware that financial aid is available? I think we may just, yeah. So how many students receive a scholarship to participate in the C4 after-school program? And I think we've already mentioned that roughly 50, 52 kids or something like that. Okay. So now my page 3. What is the in-state travel reference in the basic monthly report and expenditures? That's probably pertaining to the training seminars, and they're in different locations throughout the state. And if I was going to attend one of these seminars, I sure would hope it'd be at Orange Beach or Gulf Shores.
Those are required professional development trainings by the Alabama State Department of Education. There's no option not to attend.
Yeah. Okay, so what are the indirect costs specifically? And the indirect costs, we mentioned that term earlier.
Yeah.
And I think that has to mainly do with the custodial cost, and then maybe some employee tax may also fall into that. I'm not 100% No, it's just custodial costs.
Which
Okay.
includes their matching benefits.
Okay.
Their salary benefits. And costs.
Okay, very good. So please explain the activity part of the timesheet. The activity part, that is a phrase that is mandated by the program. They require that we have activity in our agenda. And so usually that activity refers to tutoring, any type of enrichment, educational, PE activity. That's what that refers to. And the next question, why does a YMCA custodian make more than a Board of Education custodian?
I don't think we hit on that.
So we hit on that. I think maybe one works more hours than the other. That's the only way they can, because they make the same per hour. Where's the weight room located that is mentioned in the employee sign-in sheet? So that's going to be, I think the weight room is in the Brown module on the campus of the Clanton Elementary School. Is that correct? Okay. Where do students cook for the cooking classes? So they cook in classrooms, they cook on, the lunchroom tables, and all of that is approved by, who's that approved by?
Our children do some in the classrooms. If they ever need to use something in the kitchen, Ms. Hayes works with us and provides someone to supervise.
Okay. So
Yeah, we're not doing it.
someone was paid for being at the YMCA before students arrived. What did that person get paid to do? So that person worked, I believe, for a total of a half hour and made every bit of $6. And I think they were there to prepare because someone who normally was there was not there and she was filling in.
And I think we answered that next
Is
question.
it safe?
Yeah.
Okay. And then why do we pay for an evaluation? Because it's required by the grant committee and by the state. Because we sure wouldn't pay the $3,000 to $5,000. We can use that, but it's required and it's necessary, and so we do. So are background checks performed for employees who are not Board of Education employees? Yes. Anyone over the age of 19 years old, we do that.
I have some follow-up that touch on, I think, the documents that were asked for, that the board has given me. And I think it kind of goes to the legal partnership of C4. So the question was asked about the existence of it and whether it's actual, I guess, a entity, a legal entity. And my understanding from talking to some of the other board members, and I've talked to them about this, the board is a legal entity. Schools themselves are not legal entities, so they cannot contract on behalf of the board. So I think that's where this question is going. So actually, is this an agreement that we have? Although it says C4, it's actually Board of Education doing business as C4 or the Clanton Elementary School. So is there a legal partnership or some other document for C4 that you can provide the board member?
I would think that I could. It kind of lost me in there. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, is there, my understanding is there is C4 is supposed to be a partnership between Clanton Elementary School and the Y.
Correct.
Well, Clanton Elementary School is not a legal entity in of itself. It is the Board of Education. So we're trying, so ultimately, I think the argument is, it is the Board of Education that's contracted with the YMCA. Is that not your understanding?
Not according to the current president, because she clearly stated that it was not an agreement between the Board of Education and the Y, which I thought it was. From what, so then I started saying, okay, it's not. It's between Clanton Elementary and the Y. So that's how I understood it. I actually thought it was between the board, but I.
Well, my understanding is if the document, whatever we're referring to, references Clanton Elementary School.
Have you got the document that was signed, this agreement signed August 15th of 2007? Says the party for the Chilton County, Alabama Board of Education. And the YMCA of Chilton County, the name of the entity is the Chilton County.
But she's referring to the actual documents that created the Chilton County Children's Club, that actually made it a partnership.
The grant did that.
Yeah, I think the grant.
Yes, the original copy of the grant, the very first sheet tells you and shows you that the grant is they call it a joint application between, but it doesn't create any kind of legal entity.
Okay, so that was my understanding. There was some talk about there being, C4 being some separate entity that's, okay, so we're all on the same page that Clanton Elementary School is, as when it's doing business with the Y, it's the board doing business with the Y. Okay.
Well, and the YMCA is the fiscal agent.
Correct.
Which is defines finances.
Right.
So
If you'll look down, we're on page 2, I think, about the second paragraph. Chilton County Children's Club, the name is descriptive only in nature and is vested with no legal authority.
Okay, all right, so I think Ms. Anderson received some information from someone advising, with the Y, advising that they're advised to form a legal partnership between Clanton Elementary School and the Y. So that's where we went with the legal, but clearly it's just descriptive. Yeah, it's just doing business as.
And here is the joint application page that I was referring to that shows the grant was applied for that it was filed as a joint application. And here's the entire grant, but I know that the MOU between the school and the Y is in here, as well as the assurances and certifications that were created, and the principal and superintendent form for every school that participates.
So the cover page of the grant application lists all the schools.
It lists the schools we serve.
Right, so it lists all the schools in the county that we serve, and then the second page, the memorandum of understanding, lists just Clanton Elementary School.
Because that is the site of service.
Okay.
So the memorandum of understanding is between the YMCA, which is site 2, and Clanton Elementary School, which is site 1.
Gotcha.
And here's a copy of the things that y'all were asking for. I also included the audit, that monthly audit. And we highlighted where it shows we're approved, and then we actually had one where we submitted and one thing was not approved. And so we highlighted that so you could see how they document it and note to us when we do something that's not. So then they send it back, we relook at it, and then we send it.
A copy of the grant application, the pre-grant application, is that in there too?
The grant application.
The entire grant application is this.
Okay.
This is what I had just pulled apart to give you the top.
Oh, okay.
So would you like the entire copy? Okay.
Never mind, but I'm not going to.
She knows, oh, yeah.
So what are you asking?
I thought you said
Copy of?
Oh, no, no, I'm sorry, say that again. Do I
Do you
want copy?
want the grant?
Yes, I do want the grant.
I have to get it back in.
Yeah, that was it.
That was it.
You want to check there?
Hey, thank y'all for letting us come in and sit down and explain that.
Absolutely.
We really hope that kind of clears some things up. And man, okay, let's talk about moving forward. I think now, because we kind of talked a good bit about how if you don't pay your parenting fee, you're still gonna get caught. We're probably gonna have to rewrite our operational budget, because I feel like that certain people here, they probably not gonna pay. You know, they may not pay as much, so we'll have to do that.
But that's based on your sliding scale, right? Scholarship scale, or is that?
Well, that's just with the scholarship. That's not the actual.
Yeah.
parenting fee.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, we can't make them really. But, yeah, no, go ahead.
Well, I would just like to say that the grant application our grant funding ends September 30th. Now, it may be, I believe they talked about extending it a couple of months because of the shutdown and so forth. I talked with the representative of the State Department the other day. But what we need to be very clear on is we may not get this grant again. You know, I mean, just because you submit a grant does not mean you're going to get it. And I
have
hope.
a question.
Sure.
Just because you're saying that even if you apply for it, you may not get it again. So I know that there is, in your grant application, you have to give us a sustainability plans.
Right.
And so what exactly is
It'll
that?
have to be tuition fee based.
Yeah.
So then we truly will be in a situation where if you don't pay them, and that's unfortunate. I've run it that way before. And you just basically end up with some people, they just can't come.
Yeah.
Because we can't cover it anymore.
Right.
But the letters, Mr. Griffin, I didn't bring a copy with me, but I submitted 2 letters in April to Mr. Griffin for presentation to the board. One was permission to continue to operate as we are, as a joint service plan between the YMCA and Clanton Elementary School on behalf of the Chilton County Board of Education, because it serves your schools. So that's one thing, because we may not get the grant. We may, you know, I haven't, to be honest, even started a grant because I wasn't going to invest the time.
Yeah.
Until all this was settled. So in the event that we don't get it, we will have to shift to a complete tuition-based program.
Right.
So one request is that we be allowed to operate, whether it's completely tuition-based or grant and tuition-based.
Right.
The other is permission to apply. So those are the two proposals that have to be decided.
And you talked about sustainability, and I think at one time when the program first started, that they encouraged us to try
Yeah.
to maintain some of those, and then they came back and said, we have to spend all of those resources. So all of the money that we do take in and receive, we do have to spend every day.
By the end of this
By the end
cycle,
of this, yeah.
whether it be September 30th or December 30th, we have to spend every penny that's in the accounts, and you have to start over at zero.
So can you give us, I know this was, apparently when I was going through all the questions, I neglected to put it on here, but, so can you give us some examples of things that you have bought? Because I know, I think last year you had like, I think you told me like $46,000 left
We
over.
started this program with the intention of trying to carry over about $50,000 a year, in hopes that at the end of year 3, we would have $150,000 to maintain another year until we could receive a grant if we didn't receive one. In that, in our grant, original grant, it states that, and it was approved. Then they came back in the second year and said, you cannot do that. You've got to expend every penny by the end of the grant cycle. So your question is some of the things we've purchased, and I'll name some of mine, and I probably can name some of Ms. Patterson's. I sign every purchase order, and I sign every check. Ms. Patterson co-signs the check with me because she is the YMCA director, but I sign every purchase order and check after Ms. Morgan prepares it. I bought guitars. I don't, Ms. Morgan, if you remember.
I've seen guitars.
I bought guitars. I bought shade structures. I think Ms. Patterson bought one shade structure. I have purchased basketball goals. I have purchased pickleball nets. Did you purchase pickleball nets? I have purchased cameras because we do photography. I've purchased some playground equipment. I've purchased some tennis rackets. I've purchased, help me.
Purchase some exercise.
Exercise equipment.
Unicycle. Bicycle, helmets.
Helmets.
Lots of art supplies.
Archery.
Archery, bows, arrows, targets.
And those supplies are not just for those kids, right? Some of those actually, the other kids in the county can benefit from that, right?
So for clarification, I'll make a recommendation tomorrow night that I be allowed to sign off on the application for the grant, okay? So that application will include all those details that you've already discussed, correct, Mr. O'Kell?
The application, yes, is actually, I'm sorry, the
Okay.
details I've discussed.
Like, so
about what-
when I recommend tomorrow night to the board that I be allowed to sign off on the permission to apply for the grant, when you submit the grant, it's gonna have those details in the grant, like, for example, transportation costs, those kind of things. okay?
Yes, it will have to be
Okay.
everything.
So that will be part of that. So when I ask for permission, they're gonna sign off on the grant. Once the grant is approved, if we're gonna say when it's approved, I'll bring it back to the board to sign off on that we're good on every bit of that. Okay? What happens if you get approved for the grant and it comes back to the board and they say, we're not good with all that?
That can't happen, we don't.
Yeah, do like that.
Okay. So once they approve it and you submit it, it's a done deal. Okay, right?
Yes,
Okay.
it's a done deal that we would be receiving grant funds,
Okay.
but we also need permission to operate if we don't receive grant
Right.
funds, because we can't open a program in August
Right.
And then in December say, oh, no, we can't do
Right.
this anymore, because we would really mess some families up.
Okay, so I think the two major concerns, let me make sure I'm right, so we don't get into this deep in the weeds again. So there was concerns about the transportation cost. Okay, there was concerns about giving access to all the students. Okay, so, well, I'm perfectly fine with running a bus to Rabina and Maplesville. I mean, what's fine, well, and good with me, okay? But I think the consensus of the board here is there needs to be some reimbursement of the mileage amount. I mean, is that what I'm hearing as far as because what I don't want to do is y'all fill out a grant and then we come back and we beat the same drum
Well,
2 months from now.
my plan is to reach out to my fellow board members and just see how their opinions on this, and then I will get with either Mr. Parnell or Mr. Calhoun and
What's the
discuss
deadline, Mr.
in the
Rivera?
morning.
I think it's June 10th.
Okay.
Which is already,
You'll know about it.
Okay.
I think we need to negotiate.
We want this program
We want it.
for the kids of this county. We're all here for the same purpose. And I think we don't need to lose focus of that.
Right.
The only profit, really, we don't really get the profit. The only thing we benefit from, the sites benefit from, or maybe some of those supplies or larger shades and things like that we get to keep. And so,
but you also have to realize it's a lot of wear and tear on our building to host this program. I mean, and it is acceptable to use grant funds to enhance your site and to repair your site. So that is definitely, yes, happens and has to happen.
I mean, if you want to renegotiate the bus deal,
And what I'm saying
I
is, we
guess
may
we
or
can.
we may not. I'm going, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you that on my own. She knows that as
Right.
well as anybody in this room. Like, as the board president, I can't tell you that that's what we're gonna do. I have to confer with my
yeah,
fellow board members, and then I can get back with you. But, I think this meeting has been very informative. It has answered lots of my questions.
yes, yes.
And I mean, I feel better. Nobody else in the room might not feel better, but I feel better. I mean, because,
Right.
we spoke the other night. I mean, you have questions and there's just not, I guess, adequate answers.
Right.
But I just want to say this, I think this program is great. I think that it is structured very well, and I give you kudos for that. It is wonderful that our kids get help with their homework from certified teachers. I mean, I'm not knocking that at all. I mean, I think the program is great and it's wonderful, and, it's a benefit to
Yeah.
our students, our parents, our community. So I'm glad that we were able to sit down and do this and get some answers. And I mean, I feel certain that probably most of the other board members feel much better about this
Feel good.
moving
Good.
forward. Yes.
I will say, Ms. Pam spoke frankly earlier, and I respect that. And so now I'm going to speak frankly. I'm just going to speak for myself. If we have to go back and negotiate the bus money, reimbursement, I'm personally going to take issue with it because you're profiting $10,000 a month on meals.
Which is
Okay.
90,000,
Yeah.
97,000.
Whatever, it's $10,000 a month in profit. And that was the initial settlement. I'm just one person. They can outvote me and overrule. I'm just speaking frankly. I will have an issue if we have to go back and negotiate the mileage when you're profiting. And I know you can't cross that over and make that. I totally understand that. I do. That's just a personal thing for me. And I hope that's not a deal breaker with me speaking frankly.
All right, so let's talk about moving forward. So how often do y'all get financial reports or updates on this program?
I think it's every month because we have to submit every month for their approval before we even get.
So would it be possible for us to get the same reports?
I included that report.
No, I'm talking about moving forward. The same reports and updates that y'all get.
I don't think we'd have a problem with it. I mean,
So are you talking about the Form 3?
I'm just talking about an update financially, how many kids we got, if we're looking at getting close to a cap, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah,
And one thing I will say that I have not been diligent in and should have is asking to be on the agenda every quarter or so and telling the board, this is how many children we're serving, this is what we're doing right now, and we will commit to do that, absolutely.
And I would say, I know I would love that. That would be great. Yes.
I'm not a micromanager, but I do like when I have to answer my phone call to be able to give somebody an honest answer, and that's all I ask for, is be able, you know, when they call and say, what about this program? And I say, well, you know, I've asked, but I don't know, you know, I mean,
That's my fault, I should have already
it's,
been doing
I
that.
mean, we're moving forward now. We can't go back and do anything that happened in the past, but we can like try to make this thing move forward. So. And one other thing in all of us is safety. And I'm sure y'all have it too, you know, but we're responsible for these kids. And at the end of the day, you know, and I'm just gonna put it out, I don't know, I've never been, but what I've been told is that they just come and sign and let them go. I mean, and I don't know, if not, I just want to say.
Well, and I would like to speak to that because we are very diligent in having a procedure in place. All of our parents fill out a checkout card with names on it, just like we do for school,
Good.
of the people that have permission to check out that child. We have 2 stations at the front of the building. So, pardon me? And then there's one at the Y for the 6:30 dismissal. When a parent comes in, they are asked to show their ID, just like we do for school. The person at the checkout desk, be it a high school worker or a teacher, checks that card to see if they're on there, checks the driver's license, and then releases them. They sign out on a piece of paper and on an iPad to show that they have left the premises. When we transport them at 4:15, somebody stands at the bus door when they get to the Y and they check them in. We check them out at site 1, they check them in at site 2. And then when they leave for the day, they're checked out at the Y at 6:30. If they leave from us, they're checked out, of course, at 5:30. We have a police officer on campus the majority of the time at Clinton Elementary, which we're very grateful for. He's our school SRO, so he is there the majority of the time and assists us in, just like he would during the school day. So those are great things that I feel are very safety conscious. And sure, we might have something happen. We do our very best, but we, of course, can't anticipate every situation.
Thank you.
I'd like to say something real quick on behalf of the FLY board, to the Board of Education, is that, as you can tell today from everything that's been talked about, there's a lot it takes a lot to make this program happen. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of moving parts, whether it's using the Y facility, using the Board of Education's facility, or the buses. It takes an army, and we want to see this program move forward. And I encourage the Board of Education to realize that it's not easy for us. It'd be a lot easier if we didn't do this. But we're here for the betterment of the children in the county. And I think that's what we need to all realize. And we're here for that is our purpose as the YMCA. And I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you.
All right, good deal. If no one else has anything.
I'll kill service. That's been my whole goal with this whole program. And Mr. Calhoun, I appreciate you being honest with me.
No, just speak loud.
No,
No, keep it on.
but I want to be honest too. It concerns me, and I come as a business owner. It concerns me that everyone will want to use my facilities, my electricity, my insurance, my buildings, and they wouldn't want to show me the books. And you stated yourself that the Y you just was contributing nothing. And yes, you did say that. I wrote it down.
I didn't speak.
Well, when we were answering the questions, you stated that, because that was a couple of that was one of the questions, and you stated nothing. As
Are you
far
referring to me
as
or Mr. Calhoun?
Mr. Calhoun.
She's talking.
Well, you were the one answering the question.
Yes, I was.
I mean, and I don't mean it ugly, but I have to look at this. This program is only servicing less than 7% of our children in this county. All of our children in this county aren't allowed to go to this program. And I have to weigh out the expense that is being fed to that less than 7% and what's being taken from the other children in this county. And I do appreciate y'all coming and answering. First time in 3 years I got answered anything. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other than, I would like to say, Ms. Drell did bring me a look, day-to-day operations, and I have no problem with that because this is a great program, as I said over and over.
If I said that the YMCA doesn't provide anything, I don't remember saying nothing. I apologize if that's not what I meant. I don't think that's what I said. I think I said basically the same thing except what the buses, because we don't have buses in the transportation and the liability that goes with transportation of buses. So I apologize for being, for not making that clear.
Hey, one last thing, because I want to try to get all the questions, because we're gonna have to vote tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So let's say the application is turned in, the grant application. Let's say it comes back negative. Where will the YMCA be as far as partnership then?
Well, I think we have to go back and renegotiate and try to decide.
Well, we hope when the vote is, that the vote is to continue the program.
Yeah.
And not have any relation to getting a grant or being full parent based. Just continuing the program as is, and the grant being like a secondary portion of that.
Okay, but back to my question.
Okay.
If the grant doesn't come through, where will the YMCA be?
Then we're gonna have to, as a board, we're gonna have to decide if we want to discontinue the partnership and try to provide our own, which I think we can do, but we'll be very limited with the number of kids that we can provide. I think it would be more like around 70 or so, and that's not what we want. We want everybody to be all in so that we can hopefully
That's one of the.
be way more than 350.
Yeah.
We would love to see that number increase to our maximum capacity, because I think we're only allowed a certain.
Well, we're gonna find a way to have an after-school program. I just wanted to see where y'all stood in case the money portion didn't come through.
Yeah.
Because but I mean, we still want to be a CCCC if there's no grant money.
Tuition.
Yeah, just tuition based.
Just be tuition.
But
Okay,
if y'all decide not to, then.
so if we vote, I guess my question is, I'll put it down when you pick it up. If we vote to continue this partnership and this grant money comes out, are y'all gonna be in it for another year with us, no matter what happens?
Yeah, I think we're.
Not no matter what.
Well, I think.
If they pay the
He
tuition, like they
does
should,
pay no money.
if they pay the tuition, like, I
Right,
mean, that's,
yeah, I mean, we're willing to hang in there with you.
Scholarships.
I mean, it's a one year, you know,
Yeah, we're committed to it.
okay.
Yeah, we're committed to it.
so Mr. Rucka's she's gonna resend me her request that we discussed about submitting the program. She's gonna email it to me ASAP. She can interfere with other things at home and get it to me. And then I will send that, put that on the board agenda for tomorrow. And then,
So I can send you, can I send it in the morning?
yes, ma'am.
Otherwise I have to go. to school.
Yeah, don't do that. No, your husband's sitting there, that wouldn't be good. So just send it to me in the morning, and then we put it on the board agenda in the morning. Then that way they'll have access to it to read it tomorrow morning before we meet tomorrow. Is that fair, everybody?
All right.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
y'all. Thank-
Thank you all so much
Yeah,
for being
thank
here.
you.
We appreciate
This
all
will
of
be
you
live
coming
off
out
YouTube.
to show your support. This meeting is adjourned.